Also recording.
Are you guys okay? But it's just buffering for me again. Have you recovered?
Is it buffering? Who said that? Just buffered? Oh,
Doing
he's
the thing
wireless. I think it's just buffering's different.
Oh,
If he's
okay.
buffering, that's
Chicken.
not the problem.
Okay.
Our problem is
It's fine. We're
glitch.
getting Claire. Gax says it's fine for me. As long as Claire is happy, then I guess we should go.
Yeah, always look for the happy Claire. Okay, it's ready.
Right.
Here it comes in 3, 2, 1.
Hey man, get portable. Get a Game Gear Supersonic Sports Pack. A color portable Game Gear, carrying case, and 2 hit games. Sonic 2, and the Majors Pro Baseball. Whoa, even save $50. The Game Gear Supersonic Sports Pack. You know who makes it.
Coffee? Tea?
What?
That's one of my favorite
What is
uses.
coffee tea?
Coffee tea Sega, man.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Play Retro. This is where we talk about old video games. And I'm Scott Johnson, and I'm going to be on the bus for 15 minutes. So, I'm taking my Sega Game Gear and one game and 18 AA batteries. Pretty sure I can beat half this first zone of Sonic before it's off to Kmart for another battery.
Oh, you went to Kmart. So let's see where I went. And I'm your other host, Brian Dunaway, and I have another battery-based quip. Hey, 1990s Radio Shack wants to know what I plan on doing with this 100-pack of AA batteries. Well, Poindexter, that's what we used to call nerds. I'm going to power my 8-bit imagination and fail 10th grade math. But everything is going to be just fine until I stop using my Game Gear and go in and Radio Shack goes out of business. Coincidence? I think not. Damn you, Death Adder battery eater of the 8-bit handhelds.
Yeah, this thing. Big old battery chomping monster pooper.
Sega Game Gear.
But we like the Sega Game Gear, and it was actually more successful than any of you think. Okay?
Yeah.
More than most of you don't know that thing sold enough to be considered a successful console by any measurement, except it was being measured against the freaking Game Boy, which was not fair. It wasn't fair.
It wasn't fair. There was nothing like the Game Boy before the Game Boy, and it was a beast, and it was just doing its thing, ripping up the place.
That's right. We'll talk more about it here coming up on Play Retro. Before we do, it hit me today, or as I like to say, it hit me yesterday because I wrote this yesterday.
Oh, okay.
We're a day late. You guys probably noticed. Day late. Anyway, but not $1 short because here's what I realized. A lot of times I'll talk about games right here on the show that are from 2004, and I consider those to be, for the most part, retro games. So when I think of GBA games or whatever, a lot of those came out around then. And so I think of that time as kind of a retro thing. And then it occurred to me that World of Warcraft came out in 2004. Do I consider World of Warcraft a retro game experience? And at first I went, well, of course not. It's still a living, breathing game that goes on today. But then it hit me after that. People are playing World of Warcraft Classic. Why would that even exist if it wasn't considered classic, a.k.a. retro? So I think 04 is okay, is what I'm getting at.
I think we're teetering right there on the edge of what we consider play retro when we talk about things like that. Usually, in my own personal opinion, I usually look and go, oh, what major technology was missing from this system? Like we talk about the Dreamcast, and we consider that retro, and it's pretty close to bumping up to that time era.
Yeah.
And I go, well, it didn't have any network connectivity. There was no online purchasing of software. You still were buying discs. We had a huge leap after that, right? And so I'm like, I consider that to be retro.
Someone in the chat room made a point here. I believe it's correct. It says it is not a time-based thing. Says Coffee Scroll. Right. It is a moving target.
Yes,
and
it's kind of like that too, because part of us when we talk about retro, what we're really talking about for us is nostalgia, and nostalgia really usually hits when you're like, oh, remember when I was 8? And you're usually about 28, 30 when you start realizing that you miss your childhood.
Yeah.
Because and you start going, oh yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
And so
you can't help it.
It is a moving target.
So we are saying, so the Wraith says is Halo retro. If we're saying 04 can be retro, sure, because 2000 could be retro, sure, why not? For somebody somewhere.
And will that be a generation? Because each generation has its own definitions of stuff like this. This isn't like hardcore, like Cars we have like classifications that definitely say, okay, this many years. But that's because that stuff has to be taxed in a certain way. So you got to be very clear on, where it sits.
Yeah.
But we're just shooting shit here and talking.
Yeah.
And so we don't require anything to be an absolute definition, right?
No, you can guarantee we're going to talk about old stuff. Next week is very old. We'll talk about that coming up. But
maybe we should rename ourselves to Play Nostalgia. Would that make everybody happy?
No,
Fine.
I hate that name. I'm never doing that.
I do too.
I hate the word nostalgia. Nostalgia sounds like myalgia. It sounds like something someone has and shouldn't want,
Well, how about Play Remember When?
Play Remember When.
Nope, going to play to retro. See?
Play member?
We just proved our point. Play member?
I mean, well, anyway, Brian, I heard, speaking of Game Gears, somebody sent you an old crappy one and you have to fix it. What's going on there?
That's right. Well, it's not. Just don't talk about it being crappy. It just needs a little tender love and care. Sega Game Gear was sent to me by Jay, aka Satan Slurpee. You may see him around the different retro communities we have with Frog Pants as well as Mission Deep, and sent it to me. And it is a fixer-upper, as a lot of equipment is. It would have been from this time period because we had a real capacitor quality issue during that time. And typically what happens to these, if you get a Game Gear and there's either not sound or the screen is lined, which is what this one does that. It's got the line screen, no sound when you put the batteries in.
Yeah.
Then it's probably gonna be caps replaced. And when I say caps replaced, I mean all of them. There's I think there's like 14 to 20 or something. And so we got to break this thing open.
What card is that, by the way? What is in the back of that?
That's what I was going to show you. This looks like this is the Sonic 2, Hedgehog 2. Yeah. And it says,
was that good? I don't remember if that was good. I remember
I'm not sure because out of the ones we played this week, I did not play this one.
I did play 2. 2's music was familiar to me when I was playing it earlier, and I went, I played 2, and didn't go bother to see if I'd played 1. But my memory is it wasn't the best Sonic game ever. It was okay.
Right. It was just, but it's in here, baby, and we're gonna take a look and see if we can fix it. Oh yeah, I also printed this too. Not to talk about my 3D printing experience.
Yeah,
I printed.
Can't have a week without Brian talking about his 3D print. Oh, look at this! Look at that
Game Gear stand hooks right into the back there. Just stands up just like a Steam Deck. That's right. This is like a Steam Deck for the olden times.
What's the resolution on that thing? It's like 125 by something.
Yeah, it's like 166 by 120 or something. Don't quote me on that. It's something really low. It's 4:3 screen, so. Yeah, something like that, like 160 by 120 or something.
Yeah, it's real small.
Exactly.
I would love to know
small.
I'd love to know how many Game Gear screens
right
at that pixel resolution, matching what current pixel density is. Okay, how many because you would shrink that if it was today. All right, it would be much smaller, little tiny guy. How many of those screens would you need to fill up a 4K monitor or display or TV?
Oh my God, that's a great question.
I would love to do that math.
I'm assuming more than 10.
Someone in our chat, look, somebody in there's like a big math genius whiz. Throw that math down. Get that done.
The race says 42 because that's the answer to everything.
Well,
so that's a smart move.
Yeah, smart move. That's a quick get out of jail card. Anyway,
right.
I can't wait to see what you do with it. And good
there
luck.
You go. Pixel Rageous in the chat room says 160 by 144. And you have something in that range. So thank you very much.
So 160 wide. And you would times that by whatever
144 pixels.
So what you do is you'd take 4. What is the actual resolution of 4K? It's like 32.
Oh, you're still doing your math for the thing. I got you.
That's what I want. I don't care about the actual.
It's going to get real complicated because most 4K is a 16 by 9 format, and this is a 4:3. You're right, or
but you don't have to scale them up. You just have to put them all end by end. Like how many of those end by end would make the entire screen? And if you take your 4,000, so an actual 3840 by 2160 is 4K resolution. Even though it says 4K, it's really just under 4,000.
Right.
You take that 3840. So I'll do this. Here we go.
You got math.
I'm going to do the math right now.
That by the
by the 160, right? Divided by 160 width. Oh shoot! Oh, my camera's doing the glitch again. Sorry, chat. I don't know what's causing that. Whatever that is, it keeps coming and going, and hopefully it'll all go away soon. Okay, let me do that again. 3840 divided by
While you do that, I'm gonna look up how many
360
Game Gears.
360 Game Gears across. Think, Brian, that's a lot of Game Gears across, man. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I agree. I
right.
agree. That may be too many Game Gears. I don't think there's that many caps in the world to do that many cap replacements.
It's more Game Gears across than one might think. Anyway, I'm going to leave it on this screen, everybody, just in case.
Well, I'm hoping they don't upscale it. I hope they just blow the pixels all up, right? I hope it's just giant, one big screen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Also, F you, internet today. What is going on? Okay, doesn't matter. Everybody at home, we do a live stream when we do the show. So if you're listening to the show, you're like, what the heck are you guys complaining about? Got some kind of weird glitch going on today. Don't know what it is. Haven't had it.
It's weird. It's like the packets are being throttled. Doesn't even like it's something local. It looks like it's something that's between you and Twitch, maybe.
It could be. Might be Twitch.
I don't
know. Anyway. So that is a lot of Game Gear screens across your 4K TV. That was the point I was trying to get out there.
Right.
All right.
That would have Ethan Suppley asking questions.
So weird, that commercial. Oh, yeah, I should explain this thing here.
Coffee, tea.
So that commercial that I played at the intro was set on an airplane where a guy had a Sega Genesis and a television in his lap. And then he had an extension cord that ran from him down the aisle of the plane, out the plane's door, out the door, and all the way down to Earth, plugged in so he could play his game. He could play his Genesis.
Makes sense.
At one point, he's gotten too high in the air, and the cable pops out. So our very realistic scenario so far, guy can't play his Genesis in this plane. So the stewardess or somebody walks by and gives him a Game Gear. And that's all fine and good. But at the very end, the way this thing ends is the lady,
Hey, man, get portable.
Whoops, wherever she went.
Coffee, tea.
So she literally says that. She leans over like you would a flight attendant. And you go, coffee, tea. And then she yells Sega with her eyes getting all bulged out. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that commercial in forever, but I think I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, that freaked me out.
It's real good.
Night for days.
Yeah, it's very, very good. All right. Well, speaking of Game Gear, let's do more.
Shall we play a game?
We indeed shall. Let's talk about Game Gear games, at least the exclusives we think are the most playable even today. And it turns
I had
out
some fun this past week.
I did
shocked.
too, dude. I was so shocked how much fun I had with these Game Gear games because I mean, look, I had one. I enjoyed it. I maybe owned 4 games for it in the lifetime of the damn thing. And I had the TV tuner and some other stuff we'll talk about. But, I don't have like a memory that everything was amazing and that there was no better experience. And I don't know why I have this fondness, right? Turns out
you bought it like when it launched, right?
Yeah, I bought it launch day. Went out and got it.
Yeah, look at you. That's what I always love about you, man. You've always been the launch day guy. I'm always let's just wait and see.
Yeah, that's why you'll retire comfortably and I'll never have any money in the bank. Because I like to go to Software Etc. and be there at 6 a.m. and then wait for a dumb Game Gear to get released. Is what I do.
Right. I was waiting for the Game Gear. I was like, let's just see how this plays out. Oh, the prices are dropping. Time to go get me a Sega Game Gear. That's exactly what I did. But also do that with the game titles, which means also I had a very small library, as you did as well.
Yeah, and I don't think that means anything about your anything else about you that you had a small library.
No,
it's not a
no. I have a small library and a small mind for it to fit.
There you have it. But anyway, I really liked it, but I guess I'm a little surprised by the quality of the games these many years later, because it's easy to have a lot of nostalgia brain and go, well, of course that was awesome. I played it. And then you play it now and you're like, oh boy, this doesn't hold up very well. In this case, there are a bunch of games that like legit hold up, and I found myself just keep playing them. I was like, oh, have I played this for 2 hours? How did that happen? It's only like a 4-hour game. I'm halfway done.
No shade on the Game Boy at all. Game Boy is a classic. However, I gotta say, I found myself thinking lots of times, I'm like, these games seem to be more playable out of the ones I've sample tested than my memory of the Game Boy, not the color.
No.
The Game Boy.
Never the color.
The original.
Yeah.
Right. Not the color and not the advanced, but the original Game Boy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Isn't that weird?
We'll probably have to visit a full episode of Game Boy to prove me wrong, but I just kind of feel that way.
Yeah, I kind of do too. And I don't looking back now, it's harder for me to spin up a Game Boy game and enjoy it.
Yeah.
For mostly reasons that especially if I'm doing the black and white stuff, I just don't think it looks good.
Yeah. I always end up colorizing mine. I'll find a palette for it if I do it.
Yeah.
And it feels like the games are simpler. But you know what? It's really hard when people compare the Game Boy to the Game Gear, because Nintendo just dropped it and said, you know what? We think people would like an extension of what we were doing with like the Game & Watch or whatever they were doing. And they said, we like to dig deeper, right?
Mm.
And so they did that. And nobody was even thinking handhelds, really.
No.
Like Tiger or something, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, they and then Game Gear's like tried to answer everything, all the complaints about the Game Boy, but they also had to go to $150 price point as opposed to the $89.99 price point of the Game Boy, which had 40 hours worth of battery life or something compared to the Game Gear's 4 for 6 AA batteries or something.
Yeah. And again, like at that era anyway, 11 million units is a success. The Game Gear was a success, but when you're dealing with a competition that hit over 100 million, 100 million? I mean, that's insane. You got to remember the Sega Master System only sold 20 million worldwide.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's what this was, too. If you didn't know the Game Gear, unlike the Nomad was the portable Genesis. The Game Gear was the portable Master System, and you could buy the card adapter, and you could play all of your Master Systems. And I say you can play all your Master Systems. That's a broad stroke. I don't know if you could play absolutely every one of them, but you could. Most of them were supposed to be.
Most of them worked, yeah. I think most of the ones that mattered worked anyway. But think of this. Look at it in these terms. That means the Game Gear sold more than the Dreamcast did. More actual consoles sold than Dreamcast.
Yeah. 10 million for Dreamcast, something like that?
Yeah, little just shy of it. PlayStation Vita was right around the same amount. Right around 11 million. Like, I guess what I'm saying is don't poo-poo the Game Gear. The thing was, like, legit.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first. In fact, of all the people who tried to dethrone my Nintendo and chip them down a few pegs, they're the only ones that came anywhere close.
Yeah,
in the handheld market. So I don't know, man. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the Atari. We hear you, Atari Lynx fans. We hear you. You Turbo. What is the TurboExpress or whatever for the NEC? We know. We're going to get to those.
Yeah.
But today we're celebrating the Game Gear.
That's right. I'm going to do something to just test my my screen here, because we're still a little choppy. So chat room, ignore this. You're going to see the Adventure Club video. I just want to see if it actually keeps happening, and see if maybe it's something to do with my overlays, because I don't know what's going on.
It could be.
Don't know. All right, let's get to this one. None of this music really matters all that much, but this matters. The version of the Sega intro on the Game Gear sounded like garbage shit.
Yeah.
How terrible is that? It's really bad, right?
Well, once again, that was something that came. That particular intro didn't come out until the Genesis era. Am I misremembering that?
Well, Genesis version did it first, and then they down sampled it to the Game Gear.
Fit on that Master System processor there. Ooh boy.
Yeah, it's bad, right? Really bad. Listen to that. Like, is that even? That's not normal.
But you're listening to it through that little speaker. Maybe you don't notice it as much. Maybe it's you're outside. It's noisy.
Sure.
It's you're back inside looking for more batteries.
It's all those things and more. All right, I'm gonna do a quick thing where I try and figure out why this